Readings of Almighty God's words on the pursuit of the truth.
How to pursue the truth. 6. How should people with gifts and talents practice in order to avoid feeling repressed? Is this easy to achieve?
It is easy.
So, how can you resolve the negative emotions of repression that arise from not being able to utilize your expertise? First and foremost, you need to understand what the technical skills or any kinds of talents and expertise that people study and master are. Are they life itself?
No, they are not.
Can they be classified as positive things? They cannot be classified as positive things. At best, they are a kind of tool. In society and in the secular world, they are, at most, abilities that enable people to adequately provide for themselves and to maintain their survival. But in the eyes of God's house, you have just acquired a kind of technical skill. It is merely a kind of knowledge. It is a kind of simple and pure knowledge. It certainly does not indicate someone's nobleness or lowliness. A person cannot be said to be more noble than others just because they possess a certain expertise or skill. So, how can a person's nobleness or lowliness be seen? By looking at their humanity, their pursuits, and the path they follow. Technical skills or expertise can only represent what specific skill or knowledge you have acquired, how deep or shallow your understanding of it is, and what level of proficiency you have achieved in it. These technical skills and expertise can only be discussed in terms of proficiency, quantity, depth, and whether one is highly experienced in that field, or just has a superficial knowledge of it. They cannot be used to evaluate the quality of a person's humanity, their pursuits, or the path they walk. They are purely a kind of knowledge or tool. This knowledge or tool may enable you to perform some related tasks, or make you more competent in a particular kind of work. But this merely provides you with job security and a guaranteed livelihood. That is all. Regardless of how society views your technical skills and expertise, in any case, this is how God's house views them. God's house will never regard someone differently, make exceptions to promote them, or even exempt them from any form of pruning or any form of chastisement or judgment, just because they possess some kind of special skill. Regardless of what technical skills or expertise a person may possess, their corrupt disposition still exists, and they are still a corrupted human being. One's gifts, talents, and technical skills are separate from and unrelated to one's corrupt disposition, and they also have nothing to do with one's humanity or character. Some individuals have slightly better caliber, slightly higher intelligence, or slightly greater wits and perception, which allows them to acquire somewhat deeper knowledge when studying certain technical skills. They attain slightly greater achievements and results, and achieve more of them when performing work that involves this profession. In society, this may bring them somewhat greater and higher financial returns, and slightly higher status, seniority, or prestige within their field. That is all, Nevertheless, none of this indicates the path they are walking, their pursuits, or their attitude toward life and existence. Technical skills and expertise are things of a pure realm of knowledge, and they have nothing to do with a person's thoughts, viewpoints, or the perspective and stance they take on anything. They are not connected to these things in any way. Of course, the ideas that are promoted in some fields of knowledge are heresies and fallacies that mislead people about understanding the truth and recognizing positive things. That is a different matter altogether. Here, we are referring to pure knowledge and technical skills, which do not provide any positive or active support and correction for people's corrupt dispositions or normal humanity. They also have no ability to restrain or restrict a person's corrupt disposition. That is their nature. Whether one is engaged in literature, music, or any aspect of the arts, in the sciences, biology, or chemistry, or in design, architecture, commerce, or even in craftsmanship, regardless of the field, the nature of their technical knowledge is like this. This is its essence. Do you think that I have spoken accurately? No matter which field you engage in, or which technical skills you study, or if you possess some innate expertise, it does not indicate your nobleness or lowliness. For example, those who engage in business and economics in society, especially the elites, are believed to have noble character by some people, and because the professions and knowledge that they have learned are highly regarded by man, and they earn particularly high incomes, they have high social status. However, such an opinion does not exist in God's house, and God's house will not evaluate them in this way. Because the principles and standards used by those people to appraise this matter are not the truth but human understandings, which belong to human knowledge, such viewpoints are not tenable in God's house. To give another example, some people are fishermen, street vendors, or craftsmen in society. They are considered low status, and nobody holds them in high regard there. However, in God's house, all of God's chosen people are equal. Before the truth, everyone is equal, and there is no distinction between noble or lowly people. You will not be considered honorable because you have high status, or engage in a noble profession in society, nor will you be regarded as lowly because you perform a low-status occupation in society. Therefore, in God's house and in the eyes of God, whether your identity, worth, and status are considered high or low has absolutely nothing to do with your professional abilities, technical proficiency, or the expertise that you possess. Some say, I used to be a commander, a general, and a marshal in the army. I say to them, you, go stand to the side. Why should you stand to the side? Because your satanic disposition is too severe, and it disgusts me to look at you. First, spend some time reading God's words, gain an understanding of some truths, and live out a bit of human likeness. And then, when you come back, everyone will be able to accept you. In God's house, you will not be esteemed because you have engaged in a kind of work in society that is considered noble by man, nor will you be looked down upon because you once had low status in society. The standards and principles of God's house for assessing people are solely based on the criteria of the truth. So, what are the criteria of the truth? There are specific aspects to these criteria. Firstly, people are assessed based on the quality of their humanity, whether they have conscience and reason, a good heart, and a sense of justice. Secondly, people are assessed based on whether or not they love the truth and what path they are walking, whether they pursue the truth, love positive things, and love God's fairness and righteousness, or they do not pursue the truth, are averse to the truth and positive things, are always engaging in personal endeavors, and so on. Therefore, regardless of whether you possess some kind of technical skills or expertise, or whether you don't have any professional skills or expertise, in God's house, you will be treated fairly. God's house has always functioned this way, continues to do so now, and will do so in the future. These principles and standards will never change. Therefore, what needs to change are those who feel repressed because they cannot utilize their expertise. If you truly believe that God is righteous, that it's the truth that rules God's house, and that there is fairness and righteousness in God's house, then I ask you to make haste and let go of your incorrect viewpoints and opinions regarding technical skills and expertise. Don't think that possessing a few gifts or a little expertise makes you superior. Although you may possess technical skills or expertise that others lack, your humanity and corrupt disposition are no different from those of others. In the eyes of God, you are just an ordinary person, and there is nothing special about you. You may say, "I used to be a high-ranking official." Well, you're still an ordinary person. You may say, "I used to accomplish great things." Well, you're still an ordinary person. You may say, "I used to be a hero." But no matter what kind of hero or celebrity you were, it is of no use. From God's perspective, you're still just an ordinary person. This is one aspect of the truth and principles that people should understand about technical skills and some kinds of expertise. Another aspect, how to approach these professional skills and expertise, is a specific path of practice that people should understand. First of all, you need to know clearly in your thoughts and consciousness that regardless of the professional skills or expertise you possess, you are not coming to God's house to perform a job, to demonstrate your worth, to earn a salary, or to make a living. You are here to perform your duty. Your only identity in God's house is as a brother or sister. In other words, a created being in the eyes of God. You don't have a second identity. A created being in God's eyes is not an animal, a vegetable, or a devil. It is a human being, and as a human being, you should perform your duty. Performing your duty as a human being is the most basic goal that you should have for coming into God's house, and the most fundamental viewpoint that you should possess. You should say, "I am a person. I am someone with normal humanity, a conscience and reason. I should perform my duty." This is the thought and viewpoint that people should first possess in terms of theory. Next is how you should perform your duty. Should you listen to yourself or to God?
Listen to God.
That's right. And why should you listen to God? In principle and in theory, people know that they must listen to God, that God is the truth, and that God has the final say. This is the viewpoint that one should have in terms of theory. In reality, you perform this duty not for yourself, not for your family, not for your day-to-day existence, nor for your personal career or endeavors, but for God's work, for God's management to save humanity. It has nothing to do with your personal affairs. You need to understand and possess this viewpoint. After you possess this viewpoint, next, you must understand that since performing your duty is not for the sake of yourself, but for the sake of God's work, you need to pray to and seek from God on how you should perform this duty and what the principles and requirements of God's house are. Do your duty however God tells you to do it, doing whatever He asks you to do, without saying anything about it, without hesitation or refusal. This is an absolute. Because this is the house of God, it is only right and proper for people to perform the duties they ought to perform here. But people aren't doing this for themselves, for their day-to-day existence, lives, families, or careers. Then, what are they doing it for? For God's work, and for God's management. Regardless of which specific profession or kind of work it involves, whether it's as small as a punctuation mark or a formatting style, or as significant as a specific item of work, it all falls within the scope of God's work. Therefore, if you possess reason, you should first ask yourself, how should I carry out this work? What are God's requirements? What principles has God's house set forth? Then, list out the relevant principles one by one and act in strict accordance with each rule and principle. As long as it aligns with the principles and doesn't extend beyond their scope, everything you do will be appropriate, and God will treat and classify it as you performing your duty. Isn't this something that people should understand? If you understand this, you shouldn't always be pondering on how you wish to do things or what you wish to do. Thinking and acting in this way lacks reason. Should things that lack reason be done? No, they shouldn't. If you wish to do them, what should you do about it? You should rebel against and let go of yourself, and put your duty and the requirements and principles of God's house first. If you feel ill at ease, and you gratify your interests and hobbies in your spare time, then God's house will not interfere with this. This is one aspect of what you should understand, what your duty is, and how you should perform it. Another aspect pertains to the issue of people's professional expertise and skills. How should you approach the matter of professional skills and expertise? If God's house needs you to provide the professional expertise and skills that you excel at or have already mastered, what should your attitude be? You should provide them without reservation, allowing them to perform their function and showcase their value in your duty to the greatest extent possible. You shouldn't let them go to waste, because you can employ them, you understand them, and you have mastered them. You should let them be utilized. What is the principle of their utilization. It is that whatever God's house needs, however much it needs, and to what extent it needs, you employ these skills in a way that is restrained and measured. Apply your technical skills and expertise in your duty, allowing them to fulfill their function and enable you to achieve better results in your duty. In this way, will your professional skills and expertise not have been studied for a reason? Won't they have value? Won't you have made a contribution? Are you willing to contribute in this way?
Yes.
That's a good thing. As for the skills and expertise that have no use at all in God's house simply does not require or encourage them, and those who possess such skills or expertise should not exercise them arbitrarily. How should you understand this matter?
I should abandon those skills.
Exactly. The simplest approach is to abandon them, to act as if you never learned them. Tell me, if you willingly let them go, will they still come out and disturb you when you are in the process of performing your duty? No, they won't. Isn't it up to you to decide? They are just a bit of knowledge. How much trouble, how great an effect can they cause? Just treat them as if you never learned them, as if you do not possess them, and then won't the matter be done with? You should handle this matter correctly. If it's something that God's house does not require you to do, don't keep forcibly showcasing your skills in order to show off, to satisfy your own interests, or to show everyone that you know a few tricks. That's wrong. This is not the performance of your duty, and it won't be remembered. Let me tell you, not only will it not be remembered, but it will be condemned, because you're not performing your duty. You're engaging in personal endeavors, and that is very serious. Why is it serious? Because at its nature, it is a disruption and a disturbance. God's house has repeatedly told you that you must not do things that way, or do those things, or use that kind of method, but you don't listen. You keep doing them. You keep refusing to let go and persisting. Isn't that a disturbance? Isn't that deliberate? You know well that God's house doesn't need these things, yet you intentionally continue doing them. Don't you just enjoy showing off? If the videos or programs you make humiliate God, then the consequences will be unimaginable, and your transgression will be great. You understand this, right? Therefore, for the things you personally enjoy and the professional skills you possess, if you like them, if you're interested in them, if you cherish them, do them privately at home. That's fine. But don't publicly display them. If you want to publicly display something, you must be able to do it to a high standard and not humiliate God or discredit His house. It's not simply about whether you possess insight or how proficient you are in certain professional skills. It's not that simple. There is a basis for the principles and standards that God's house demands for each piece of work that you do, as well as for the direction and objectives that guide your work at each stage. They are all meant to safeguard the work and interests of God's house, not to disrupt, disturb, discredit, or destroy them. If your personal caliber, insight, experience, and taste cannot keep up with these, or fall short of them, then fellowship in private and ask for guidance and assistance from those who understand and can keep up with them. Do not resist. Do not constantly harbor negative emotions just because you're not allowed to do certain things. Your few tricks simply aren't good enough. Why do I say you aren't good enough? Because your thoughts and viewpoints are too distorted. Not only are your taste, insight, judgment, and experience inadequate and unsatisfactory, you also harbor many old religious notions. Your religious notions are too numerous and deeply rooted, and even some young people in their 20s have significantly outdated thoughts and notions. Although you are people of the modern age, who study modern technical skills and possess certain professional knowledge, because you don't understand the truth, your perspectives, viewpoints, and stances regarding various matters and the thoughts you possess are all outdated. So, no matter how many professional skills you learn, your thoughts remain outdated. You need to understand this problem and this true situation. Therefore, you must let go of those things which God's house requires you to eliminate, ban, or does not permit you to use. You need to learn to obey. If you don't understand the underlying reasons for this, at the very least, you must possess enough reason to learn to obey, and first act based on the requirements of God's house. Don't resist. First, learn to submit. After having fellowshipped about the correct attitude people should have toward the professional skills they possess, what else should you understand? In the process of performing your duty, if you fail due to the poor application of certain technical skills or expertise, resulting in disruptions and losses in the work of the church, and you face pruning, what should you do? This is easy to manage. Quickly turn and repent, and God's house will give you a chance to correct your mistakes. Because no one is perfect, everyone makes mistakes and has moments where they feel confused. Mistakes aren't troubling. What is worrying is if you continue to make the same mistakes repeatedly, persistently committing the same errors and not turning around until you hit the end of the road. If you realize your mistakes, then correct them. That's not so difficult, right? Everyone has made mistakes, so no one should ridicule another. If you can acknowledge your mistakes after making them, learn your lesson, and turn around, then you'll make progress. Furthermore, if the problem is due to a lack of proficiency in your work, you can continue learning and master the necessary skills, and the problem can be resolved. If you can ensure that you won't make that mistake in the future, won't that be the end of it? It's such a simple matter. There is no need for you to feel repressed just because you constantly make mistakes due to the misapplication of your professional skills and you face pruning. Why feel repressed? Why are you so fragile? Regardless of the situation or work environment, people sometimes make mistakes, and there are areas where their qualities, insights, and perspectives fall short. This is normal, and you need to learn how to handle it correctly. in any case, no matter what your practice is, you should face and handle it correctly and actively. Do not become depressed or feel negative or repressed when faced with a bit of difficulty, and do not fall into negative emotions. There's no need for all of that. Don't make it into a big deal. What you should do is immediately reflect on yourself and determine if there is an issue with your professional skills or a problem with your intentions. Examine if there are any impurities in your actions, or if certain notions are to blame. Reflect on all aspects. If it is a problem with a lack of proficiency, you can continue learning. Find somebody to help you explore solutions, or consult with people in the same field. If there are some wrong intentions in the mix, involving a problem that may be resolved using the truth, you can seek out church leaders or someone who understands the truth for consultation and fellowship. Talk with them about the state you are in and let them help you resolve it. If it is an issue involving notions, once you have examined and realized them, you can dissect and understand them, then turn away from and rebel against them. Isn't that all there is to it? The days ahead still await you. The sun will rise again tomorrow, and you have to go on living. Since you are alive, since you are human, you should continue to perform your duty. As long as you are alive and have thoughts, you should strive to fulfill your duty and complete it. This is a goal that should never change throughout a person's life. No matter when, no matter what difficulties you encounter, no matter what you face, you should not feel repressed. If you feel repressed, you will stagnate and be defeated. What kind of people always feel repressed? Weaklings and fools are often repressed. But you are not without a heart or thoughts. So what are you feeling repressed about? It is just that at the moment, your technical skills or expertise are not being utilized normally. What does it mean to be utilized normally? It means doing what God's house requires of you and applying your learned technical skills to meet the required standards of God's house. Isn't that enough? Isn't that what we call normal utilization? God's house does not forbid you from utilizing your abilities. It simply wishes for you to utilize them purposefully, with moderation, standards, and principles, rather than using them recklessly. Apart from that, God's house does not interfere in matters not involving the performance of your duties, or in your personal life. Only in matters of performing your duties, God's house has strict rules and required standards. So, when it comes to handling your professional skills and expertise, your hands and feet are not bound, and your thoughts are not controlled. Your thoughts are free, your hands and feet are free, and your heart is also free. It's just that when you give rise to negative emotions, you choose to retreat, become depressed, refuse, and resist. But if you choose to face things positively, listen carefully, and follow the principles, rules, and requirements of God's house, you won't find yourself without a path to follow or things to do. You are not a useless person, a weakling, or a fool. God has given you free will, normal thinking, and a normal humanity. So you have a duty to perform, and you should perform your own duty. Moreover, you possess professional skills and expertise. And so, in God's house, you are a useful person. If you can utilize your expertise as you should, in certain aspects of the work of God's house involving professional skills and expertise, you will find your place and perform the duty of a created being. As long as you stand firm in your place, fulfill your duty, and do your work well, you are not a worthless person, but a useful one. If you can perform your duty, have thoughts, and work competently, no matter what difficulties you face, you should not feel repressed. You should not retreat, nor should you refuse or evade. Now, at this moment, what you should do is not immerse yourself in negative emotions so that you are unable to extricate yourself. You should not complain like a resentful woman about God's house being unfair, about your brothers and sisters looking down on you, or about God's house not valuing you or giving you opportunities. In fact, God's house has given you opportunities and entrusted you with the duty you should perform, but you did not handle it well. You still kept to your own choices and requirements. You didn't listen carefully to God's words or pay attention to the principles God's house told you regarding your work. You are too self-willed. Therefore, if you are trapped in the negative emotion of repression, it is not anyone else's responsibility. It is not that God's house has let you down, much less that you cannot be tolerated here. It is because you haven't fully utilized your abilities in performing your duty. You have not handled or utilized your technical profession and expertise correctly. You have not approached this matter rationally, but have opposed it impulsively and with negative emotions. This is your mistake. If you let go of your negative emotions and come out of this state of repression, you will realize that there are many tasks you can do and many tasks you need to do. If you can come out of these negative emotions and face your duty with a positive attitude, you will see that the road ahead is bright, not dark. No one is blocking your vision, and no one is hindering your footsteps. It is merely that you do not wish to move forward. Your preferences, desires, and personal plans have hindered your steps. Put these things aside. Let go of them. Learn to adapt to the work environment in God's house, to adapt to the help and support given you by your brothers and sisters, and to the method of performing your duty and working in God's house. Bit by bit, let go of your preferences, desires, and unrealistic fanciful ideas. Gradually, you will naturally come out of these negative emotions of repression. One more thing you must understand is that no matter how advanced your professional skills and expertise, these do not represent your life. They do not represent your maturity in life, or that you have already received salvation. If you perform your duty in God's house in a normal and obedient manner, according to the truth principles, using your professional skills and expertise, then you are doing well here and are truly a member of God's house. However, you always fly the banner of performing your duty, Take advantage of the opportunity of performing your duty. Take advantage of the opportunities given by God's house, and keep to your preferences, ambitions, and desires to fully utilize your own expertise, using this to pursue your own career and personal endeavors. And as a result, you hit a dead end and feel repressed. Who has caused this repression? You have caused it yourself. If you continue to pursue personal endeavors while performing your duty in God's house, it won't work here, because you have come to the wrong place. From beginning to end, what is discussed in God's house is the truth. It is God's requirements and His words. Apart from these, there is nothing more to speak of. Therefore, regardless of the requirements made of people by God's house in any aspect of their work or profession, or any special work arrangements, they are not aimed at any particular individual, nor are they meant to suppress anyone or extinguish anybody's enthusiasm or pride. They are solely for the sake of God's work, in order to bear witness to God, spread His word, and bring more people before His presence. Of course, they are meant also for each and every one of you present here to embark as soon as possible on the path of pursuing the truth, and to enter into the reality of the truth. Do you understand? If the examples mentioned today apply to certain individuals, do not feel disheartened. If you agree with what I say, accept it. If you disagree and still feel repressed, then continue in your repression. Let us see to what extent such people can feel repressed, and how long they can hold on in God's house while carrying such negative emotions, without pursuing the truth or turning around. If they do not let go of repression, those who live in this negative emotion face another disadvantage. As soon as they are presented an opportunity, they jump up and go to work, taking charge on their own and disregarding all the requirements, rules, and principles of God's house, acting recklessly and fully indulging in their own desires. Once they make their move, the consequences are unimaginable. To a lesser extent, they can cause financial losses to God's house, or to a greater extent, they can disrupt the work of the church. If those leaders and supervisors shirk their responsibility and fail to solve problems, this will also affect the work of expanding the gospel of God's house, which involves resisting God. If such incidents and consequences occur to these people, their end will come. Rather than foreseeing their future, it is better for them to let go of repression early on and change the attitudes and opinions they have continuously held of overestimating and attaching importance to technical skills and expertise. It is important for them to reverse their viewpoints and not hold them dear. The reason for not holding them dear is not because they are fundamentally insignificant in the house of God, or because of my judgment or negative opinion toward these things. It is because technical skills and expertise are essentially a kind of tool. They do not represent the truth or life. When the heavens and the earth pass away, any technical skills and expertise will also perish, while the positive things and truths acquired by humans will not only not perish, they will never go away. No matter how profound, great, or irreplaceable the technical skills or special expertise you possess may be, They cannot change humanity or the world, nor can they change even a single small thought or viewpoint that people have. These things cannot even change a single small thought or viewpoint, let alone the corrupt disposition of human beings, which they are even less able to change. They cannot change humanity, nor can they change the world. They cannot determine humanity's present, their coming days, or their future, and they certainly cannot determine the fate of humanity. That is just the fact of the matter. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. If you don't believe my words, and keep cherishing such things as knowledge, technical skills, and expertise, see who will be delayed when you cherish them to the end, and what you will gain from them. Some people are highly skilled and knowledgeable in computer technology, surpassing the average person and excelling in this field. They are senior technicians, carrying themselves with an air of superiority wherever they go, and proclaiming, "I'm very skilled at the computer. I'm a computer engineer." If you continue to carry yourself like this, let's see how far you will truly go and where you will end up. You should cast off this title and redefine yourself. You are an ordinary person. Understand that technical skills and expertise come from human beings. They are limited to people's mental capacity and thoughts, at most, flooding the neurons in people's brains, leaving impressions and traces in their memories. However, they have no positive impact on a person's life disposition or on their future path. They provide no real benefits. If you continue to cling to your acquired technical skills or expertise, and are unwilling to let them go, always thinking they are precious and lovable, believing that by possessing them you are superior, you're a cut above the rest, you're worthy of honor, then I say you are foolish. Those things are totally worthless. I hope you can try to let go of them. Release yourself from the title of technician or professional. Step out of the technical and professional domains and learn to say and do everything and treat everyone and everything in a grounded manner. Do not indulge in fanciful ideas or have your head in the clouds. Instead, you ought to keep your feet firmly planted on the ground. Do things in a down-to-earth manner and maintain a practical comportment. You ought to learn to speak honestly, sincerely, and realistically, fostering the correct thoughts and viewpoints, perspectives, and stances toward people and things. This is fundamental. It means that you let go of and remove the technical skills and expertise that you have held in your heart for many years, and which have occupied your heart and thoughts, and that you can learn such fundamental things as how to comport yourself, how to speak, how to view people and things, and how to fulfill your duty according to God's words and requirements. This is all relevant to the paths people walk, to their existence and their future. These things that are relevant to the paths people walk and to their future can change your fate, determine your fate, and save you. On the other hand, technical skills and expertise cannot change your fate or your future. They cannot determine anything. If you use these skills and expertise to do a job in society, they may only help you make a living or improve your life to some degree. But let me tell you, when you come into God's house, they don't determine anything. Instead, they can become obstacles to fulfilling your duty and hinder you from being an ordinary and normal person. Therefore, no matter what, you must first have the correct understanding and perspective regarding them. Don't think of yourself as a special talent, or believe that in God's house you are extraordinary, superior to others, or more special than them. You are not special at all, at least not in my eyes. Besides possessing some special abilities or knowledge and skills that others don't have, you are no different from anyone else. Your words, your actions and conduct, and your thoughts and viewpoints are filled with the toxins of Satan, filled with distorted and negative thoughts and viewpoints. There are many things you need to change, many things you need to turn around. If you remain trapped in a state of complacency, self-contentment, and self-admiration, then you are too foolish and you overestimate yourself. Even if you once made some contributions to God's house because of your professional skills and expertise, it is not worth it for you to continue to cherish these things. No professional skill or expertise is worth dedicating your whole life to, even jeopardizing your future and wonderful destination in order to cherish, uphold, shield, and hold on to them, going so far as to live and die for them. Of course, you also should not let their existence affect your thoughts and emotions in any respect, and even less should you feel repressed because of them, because you lose them or no one recognizes them. That would be a foolish and irrational approach. To put it bluntly, they are like pieces of clothing, which can be discarded or picked up and worn at any time. There's nothing remarkable about them. You wear them when you need them, and you can take them off and discard them whenever you don't. You should feel indifferent about them. That is the attitude and viewpoint you should have toward any piece of knowledge, skill, or expertise. You shouldn't cherish or regard them as your own life, finding joy or happiness because of them, or living and dying for their sake. There's no need for that. You should approach them rationally. Of course, if you become trapped in negative emotions of repression because of them, affecting your performance of duties and the most important matter in your life, which is to pursue the truth, that is even more unacceptable. Because they are merely a tool that you can use or discard at any time, they shouldn't evoke any attachment or sentiment in you. So, no matter how God's house treats the professional skills or expertise you have acquired, whether it approves of them or asks you to give them up, or even condemns and criticizes them, you should not have any ideas of your own. You should accept the matter from God, facing and treating them rationally with the correct positions and perspectives. If God's house uses your skills but finds them lacking, then you can learn and improve upon them. If God's house does not utilize them, you should let them go without hesitation, without any concerns, and without any difficulties. It's that simple. The fact that God's house has no use for your professional skills and expertise is not directed at you personally, nor does it deprive you of the right to perform your duty. If you fail to perform your duty, it is due to your own rebelliousness. If you say, God's house looks down on me, on my talents, and on the knowledge I have acquired, and it does not treat me as a talented individual. Therefore, I won't perform my duty anymore. That is your personal choice not to perform your duty. It is not that God's house has denied you the opportunity or taken away your right to perform it. If you fail to perform your duty, it is equivalent to giving up your opportunity for salvation. Because you prioritize the maintenance of your professional skills, expertise, and personal dignity, you abandon the performance of your duty and the hope of receiving salvation. Tell me, is this rational or irrational? Is this foolish or wise? So, is there a path for what you should choose? There is a path. Then, do you still feel repressed? You don't feel repressed anymore, do you? Individuals with repressive emotions and those without repressive emotions have completely different attitudes toward performing their duties and completely different ways of doing things. Repressed people can never be happy. They will never feel peace or joy, and they won't experience the enjoyment and consolation that come from performing their duties. Of course, after breaking free from this negative emotion of repression, people will feel happiness, comfort, and enjoyment in performing their duties within God's house. After this, some people should then put effort into their pursuit of the truth. The future will be bright for people like this. However, if you constantly feel repressed and do not seek the truth to free yourself, then go ahead, continue in your repression and see how long you can endure. If you remain in this state of repression, your future will be bleak, dark as pitch, so that you can't see a thing, and there will be no path ahead. You will live each day in a daze. How ignorant you will be. In reality, this is a trivial matter, just a small thing, but people cannot break free from it, let it go, or turn it around. If they could turn it around, their mindset and the aspirations of their heart, as well as their pursuits, would be different. All right, we will end our fellowship here today. I hope you will soon break free from the negative emotion of repression.